The summer air over Long Island, which should have been scented only with roses and vintage champagne, was instead sliced by the sharp, accusatory voice of Victoria Hayes. Her voice, pitched to carry across the expensive crowd, penetrated the core of the lavish, the Oak Haven Heritage Manor, an iconic Hamptons property adorned with historical lace. Her Cartier watch glittered, reflecting the cruel afternoon sun, as she dismissively waved her hand with a gesture of utter contempt. "Security! Remove this woman immediately! Get her out of my sight!" Victoria's jaw hardened. "I will not have the reputation of the Hayes family, a New York real estate dynasty, ruined by some low-class crasher looking for handouts at my son's wedding." Ava Sinclair stood perfectly still. Her navy blue dress, simple and labelless, was the only calm palette amidst the sea of designer pastels. Her dark brown eyes looked straight at Victoria, radiating an unnerving depth and composure. Ava did not look afraid. She looked like someone calculating a devastating loss. "Madam Hayes, I believe there has been a monumental misunderstanding," Ava said, her tone low, vibrating, yet chillingly controlled. "Misunderstanding?" Victoria stepped closer, her expensive French perfume assaulting Ava's senses. "Listen closely, miss. This property is valued at $50 million. Everyone here represents old money, blue blood. You are not part of the history we are writing. You are merely a pathetic nuisance." She leaned in, her voice dropping to a vicious whisper. "How much? $100? $500? Name your price and disappear now." Ava did not flinch. "I apologize for the inconvenience which is about to commence, madam." "Inconvenient?" Victoria's eyes narrowed, fueled by burning rage. "The audacity of you walking on private land as if you own it. Remove her now before she tries to steal the silverware or embarrass herself further." The security officers approached hesitantly. Ava, instead of resisting, turned and walked toward the garden path, her steps seemingly memorizing every loose flagstone that might trip other guests. This was a gate too familiar, too proprietary for an intruder. How does she know how to avoid those broken tiles? A cold sense of dread began to crawl into Victoria's mind. The catering manager froze mid-conversation, his face pale as linen. "Madam Hayes, that's..." He couldn't finish the sentence. The staff whispered, pointing discreetly. The elderly groundskeeper, Mr. George Thomas, a man who had worked at Oak Haven for decades, quickly removed his cap as Ava passed, then immediately looked away when Victoria glared at him. "Why is everyone acting so strange? What ungodly secret is hiding beneath that woman's phony calm?" Ava moved through the estate with unsettling familiarity. She avoided the sprinkler heads in the rose garden without looking down. She took a shortcut past the carriage house, known only to the longtime residents sworn to silence. Her fingers brushed the giant oak tree where the initials S.H. were carved decades ago. Her great-grandfather's initials. Every touch Ava made felt like a demand for stolen memory. Victoria followed from a distance, her anger morphing into a painful suspicion. "That woman is studying our property." No. She knows it. She feels it beneath her feet. Ava paused at the reflecting pool. The brass plaque had been removed 20 years ago, but Ava remembered exactly where it stood. She recalled her father, Mr. Robert Sinclair, saying, "Ava, my girl, your grandfather installed that fountain to celebrate your birth. It was a promise that this house would always be yours." Mr. George Thomas, the old groundskeeper, approached her, trembling. "Miss Ava, my God, is it really you? After all these years?" Tears welled in his eyes. "Your father would be so proud. You look just like him." "He never gave up hope, miss." Victoria stepped between them, cutting the fragile thread of emotion. "I don't know what kind of scam you're running, but this conversation is over. Thomas, Get back to work, now! Victoria gripped Thomas's arm, treating him like a purchased chattel. Ava watched the exchange. Her composure was intact, but inside, fury was building. They didn't just steal the property, they destroyed loyalty. "This has gone too far," Victoria shrieked, her heels clicking on the marble like firing warning shots. "Security! I want her removed from this property now! I want her gone!" Ava finally walked to the iron gates, running her fingers along the family crest that the Hayeses had attempted to erase. She left, but only to retrieve her final ammunition. The guests, watching from a distance, sensed that something was deeply wrong, something far more sinister than a mere wedding crasher.
Ava returned through the gates, carrying a sleek, black leather briefcase. Her presence was now so measured, so purely professional, that it silenced the champagne-fueled guests. What is inside that case? A bomb, or just a desperate bluff? Curiosity pierced through, sharper than the preceding hatred. "What is this now?" Victoria's voice rose, edged with barely concealed panic. "Security! She's back! Remove her again! This time throw her beyond the fence line!" Ava ignored them. She walked calmly to an empty table at the reception's edge and sat down. She opened her briefcase and produced a thick stack of documents. She began reviewing them, documents that looked extremely official, very legal, with stamps and red ribbons. Victoria immediately implemented a siege. The guests gathered, and the brutal psychological warfare of the social elite began. "What is she reading? It looks like legal papers," Brendan whispered to his wife Penelope, his tone a mix of fear and derision. "It must be fake. She's looking for a weakness to exploit and extort us. It's an absolute outrage. She should be jailed for trying to embarrass us," Penelope chimed in. A group of young socialites approached Ava's table. "Excuse me, but this is a private event. Why don't you just disappear?" "I am merely documenting my observations," Ava replied, her voice steady. "Notes on what, exactly?" demanded Victoria, now standing right behind the socialites, her face livid with rage. "You are trying to intimidate my guests with your amateur psychological nonsense," Victoria shrieked. "You know nothing of true power, darling." "Do I?" Ava closed her eyes momentarily. She allowed every insult to sink in, letting her father's grief envelop her. She recalled his final words. "Ava, never let them steal your dignity. True strength is the truth unspoken." Victoria leaned in cruelly. "Your father was a drunk who gambled away his inheritance. You are just a delusional girl playing with worthless paper." "I want her gone now," Victoria shrieked, her voice reaching a hysterical peak. "I want her arrested for fraud and harassment. We have judges who play golf at our club. We have connections that will leave you rotting in a cell." Ava checked her watch. The timing is perfect. She had gathered all the necessary evidence, witnesses to the humiliation, verbal proof, and most importantly, she had allowed Victoria to ascend to the zenith of her arrogance. The tension peaked as Detective Marcus Reed approached. He saw Ava, and his face instantly drained of color, showing profound respect. Why would an authoritative police officer show such deep deference to a wanted crasher? The crowd shivered, sensing a fundamental shift. "My God, Ava," Marcus whispered, "what are you doing here?" "You know this woman?" demanded Victoria. "She is someone you absolutely do not want to cross," Marcus replied, his eyes filled with professional concern. Victoria demanded an arrest. "Arrest her, or I will report you to your superior." "I cannot do that, Madam Hayes," Detective Reed said firmly. "You do not want me to arrest her. Believe me, your pride will cost you more than her freedom." Victoria persisted. "Fine, prove it. Prove this property is ours. Then you won't mind if I run a quick property search. Marcus pulled out his phone. Nassau County property records are public. Victoria's heart pounded. A chilling realization struck her. What if there's a flaw in our paperwork? According to county records, Detective Reed announced grimly, like a prosecutor reading a verdict, this property was originally owned by Henry Sinclair in 1924, inherited by his son, Robert Sinclair, and then in 2003 by Robert's daughter, Ava Sinclair. The silence was broken only by the sound of a glass shattering on the flagstones. Victoria's face went white. "That's impossible," Victoria stammered. "We bought it legally." "No sale is recorded. The property transferred via inheritance. Miss Sinclair is the rightful owner. Property taxes have been paid by the Ava Sinclair Trust for the past 22 years." Ava lifted her documents. "Original deed, my father's inheritance papers. You have been an illegal tenant for 20 years, without paying rent, without permission." Victoria stumbled backward. "Your property, all this, belongs to you?" The thought was a poison, corrupting everything she believed. Mr. George Thomas, the old groundskeeper, stepped forward with newfound courage. "Madam Hayes, I have worked here for 40 years. The Sinclair family built this with honor. You took it with lies. I have been receiving wages from Miss Ava for 20 years, and I know the truth hidden behind this fence." Victoria could only stare. The crowd whispered, now not out of scorn, but out of fear.
Victoria, driven by desperation, launched a final, frantic attack. "You don't have proof. I'll call our lawyer. Our money will talk." Ava allowed Victoria to reach the height of hysteria. She remembered her father, who died heartbroken. "Father, they stole your dignity, but I will restore it with a power they cannot purchase." Victoria leaned in cruelly. "Your father was a drunk who gambled the inheritance away. You are just a delusional girl trying to steal what was never yours. Look at yourself. Where are your diamonds? Where is your Rolls Royce? Rich people don't look like you." Ava opened her eyes. Her gaze was cold, emotionless, pure judicial authority. She withdrew the black folder from her briefcase. It bore the embossed federal seal, glowing like a cruel warning. Detective Reed flinched, taking 3 steps back, his face now etched with genuine fear. "My God! Madam, I had no idea. You were on the bench." "On what bench?" screamed Victoria. "Because you are insulting a federal judge," Detective Reed stated flatly. "I am Judge Ava Sinclair, United States District Court for the Eastern District of New York." Richard Petton, Victoria's lawyer, arrived and saw the federal seal. His face instantly went ashen. "Judge Sinclair, what are you doing here?" He whispered to Victoria. "She handles major federal crimes. Fraud, corruption. She has sentenced congressmen to prison." Ava opened the black folder completely. "I have extensive documentation regarding mail fraud, wire fraud, tax evasion, and conspiracy to commit theft of federal property." "Federal property?" "This estate includes protected wetlands. Illegal occupation for 20 years constitutes a federal crime. With evidence of intent to defraud and systematic cover-up, this is an unassailable indictment." Victoria collapsed. She realized she had spent an hour attacking and humiliating the woman who held the key to her entire family's freedom.
Victoria's despair turned to horror when her son, the groom, Ethan Hayes, approached. "Judge Sinclair," Ethan greeted her with profound respect. "You know her too?" Victoria wailed. Ethan, tears in his eyes, revealed the devastating truth. 3 years ago, I was facing 25 years for federal money laundering charges. Judge Sinclair was the only one who saw something worth saving in me. She granted me mercy. She saved my life, Mother. I would be rotting in a cell if not for her compassion. Ethan took the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed my family attack Judge Sinclair on her own property. She has the power to destroy us completely. Ava took the microphone. Her voice was now absolute authority, yet laced with an unexpected grace. Mr. Hayes, I came here to reclaim my family's property, but seeing your honesty and growth, I am reminded why I chose mercy 3 years ago. Justice is not about punishment. It is about accountability, restitution, and change. Ava announced her shocking decision. I am gifting this estate back to your family, under strict conditions. Victoria nodded frantically. Madam Hayes, you will publicly apologize to every staff member you threatened today. You will establish a grounds maintenance fund that honors the Sinclair family legacy as a confession of your wrongdoing. Mr. George Thomas will receive formal recognition and a full endowed pension. The Sinclair family crest will be restored, and this estate will host an annual scholarship fund for underprivileged students in the New York community. Ava looked at the trembling Victoria, forcing her to accept the ultimate humiliation, living in the stolen luxury, but forever reminded of the dignity she insulted and paying the price of her greed every single day. Ava closed her briefcase. Her voice resonated one last time. Remember this day. True authority does not demand respect through intimidation. It earns respect through service and the truth left unspoken.